Dara completely devastated. Jung Il in shock. What happened to the newlywed couple? It was meant to be a fairy tale, an enchanting union between two beloved stars whose names had long been whispered together in fan forums and behind closed doors. The announcement that Jung Il and Dara, the K-pop princess turned global icon, were officially married sent the entertainment industry into a frenzy. Their love story, which had unfolded quietly over the years, finally reached its long-awaited climax in a star-studded ceremony filled with elegance, tradition, and genuine love. But while fans expected emotional vows, stunning visuals, and glamorous moments, nothing could have prepared them, or the couple themselves, for what actually happened that day. What began as a beautiful celebration of love suddenly transformed into one of the most unforgettable, emotional, and raw moments ever witnessed in Korean celebrity history. The moment that changed everything. The venue was grand, the guests were dazzling, and the atmosphere was electric with joy. But amid the glitter and applause, there was a moment when everything came to a sudden, surreal pause. It wasn't during the vows. It wasn't during the kiss. It wasn't even during the celebrity performances or the emotional speeches. It happened when Jung Il handed Dara a small, unassuming box. There was no ribbon, no luxury logo, no shine. Just a simple box placed gently in Dara's hands by the man she had just vowed to spend the rest of her life with. Curious murmurs filled the room. The cameras focused in, expecting perhaps a necklace, a watch, or a handwritten letter. But when Dara opened it, the entire room fell still. Her hands began to tremble. Her breath caught in her throat. And then she let out a sound that silenced even the boldest paparazzi, a sob so deep, so guttural, so heartbreakingly raw that even her makeup artist turned away to wipe their tears. The contents of the box. Inside were not diamonds, not designer keepsakes, not plane tickets to a private island. There were three seemingly ordinary items. A worn-out cassette tape, cracked and yellowed, with "Sandara" written on it in a childlike scrawl. A faded photograph of teenage Dara, standing in front of a tiny stage in the Philippines, holding a microphone, tears in her eyes. And then, not an object at all, but a man. A man Dara had not seen in decades. A man she never wanted to see again. Her father. The father who was never meant to return. The moment her father stepped out from the shadows at the back of the room, gasps swept through the crowd. This was no arranged reunion. He hadn't been on the guest list. In fact, those close to Dara knew well, he had been explicitly uninvited. She had spoken clearly in the past, "I don't want to see him on my happiest day." This wasn't a tale of death or estrangement through distance. This was abandonment. Her father had walked away when she was young, leaving her mother to raise their children alone. Dara, barely more than a girl, became the financial and emotional pillar of the family. She sold her own possessions, skipped her own dreams, and supported her brother's education. While other girls were going to prom, Dara was attending auditions in borrowed clothes, chasing hope and holding back hunger. And her father, he had remarried, started a new life, disappeared. He was not dead. He was absent, emotionally, physically, painfully gone. A public apology unlike any other. Now here he was, gray-haired, humbled, walking slowly toward his daughter on the most important day of her life. He didn't demand attention. He didn't cry out her name. Instead, he walked until he was just a few feet from her and dropped to his knees. A gasp echoed through the room. Dara's mother began to cry. Guests looked around, unsure whether they were intruding on a private tragedy. Then he spoke. "I know I don't deserve to be here," he whispered, voice trembling. "I know I have done things you may never forgive. I didn't come to ask for forgiveness. I came to apologize to your face." Finally, no one moved. The air thickened. The cameras lowered. It was no longer a performance. It was life, raw and unfiltered. "Why now?" Dara stood frozen, her eyes wide, her body trembling. After several seconds, her lips parted and she managed to whisper, "Why now?" Her father raised his head. His eyes were bloodshot. "Because the man you chose to marry reminded me of what love really looks like." And then the room collectively turned to Jung Il. Jung Il-woo's silent role. He walked over quietly, placed a reassuring hand on Dara's back, and said, I didn't bring him here to hurt you. I brought him here to honor the part of your past that made you strong. The part that made me fall in love with you." There were no fireworks. No music. Just silence and the sound of hearts breaking and healing all at once. And then Dara did the unimaginable. She took a step forward. Then another. Until she was face to face with her father. He shook his head, whispering, "I don't deserve." But before he could finish, she dropped to her knees and threw her arms around him. And together they sobbed. The collapse of years of silence. In that moment, Dara wasn't the glamorous icon. She wasn't the star. She wasn't the bride in couture. She was a daughter who had waited her entire life to be acknowledged. And her father, flawed, regretful, broken, held her with the desperation of someone who had finally understood what he had lost. It wasn't about forgiveness. It wasn't about resolution. It was about release. The world reacts. The footage of that moment, though limited due to media restriction, spread like wildfire across social media. Fans posted tributes and edits. Fellow idols posted crying emojis. One top actress wrote, "That wasn't a wedding. That was a resurrection of a soul." Another posted, "This wasn't just love. This was grace in motion." But what truly struck fans was the way Dara looked at Jung Il-woo afterward. Her entire expression changed. Not just love. Not just admiration. It was surrender. A silent message from her eyes. "You saw every part of me. And you still chose me." The deeper gifts. As if that weren't enough, days after the wedding, another piece of news surfaced. Jung Il-woo had legally transferred ownership of a non-profit foundation under Dara's name. The foundation's mission? To support young, underprivileged artists in Korea and the Philippines, especially those with no access to training or resources. Its name? Sandara. Not her stage name. Her real name. Her full identity. When she asked why, Jung reportedly answered, "Because I fell in love with every version of you, even the ones you tried to hide." No press, no applause, just love. There were no press releases. No red carpet launches. Just one quiet transfer of power and purpose. A husband giving his wife more than wealth. He gave her back her voice. Her history. Her home. Even their closest friends were shocked. One wedding staff member confessed, "We knew he was planning something. He kept disappearing during rehearsals. But we thought it was maybe for fireworks or a speech. None of us imagined this." Another added, "Dara is always so composed. But this broke her. In the most beautiful way. A love that heals." In the days that followed, photos surfaced of the couple walking quietly through a temple, reportedly one Dara used to visit as a child. No entourage. No cameras. Just two people who had turned pain into peace. And then, Dara posted a single image on social media. Her wedding bouquet, the edge of her tear-stained dress, and a handwritten letter framed in glass. The caption, "He didn't just bring my father back. He brought me back too." The legacy of a moment. In a world saturated with artificial romance, manufactured headlines, and glossy perfection, Jung Il-woo and Dara gave us something rare, authenticity. He didn't buy her forgiveness. He didn't fix what was broken. He simply created space for her to reclaim it. And Dara, brave and luminous, allowed herself to feel everything she had buried for years. In that moment, she wasn't just celebrated. She was seen. This wasn't just a celebrity wedding. It was a love story for the soul.